More drivers now seeing the changes as a direct and maybe indirect result of the new Harbor Bridge project. Our Brian Burns was at City Hall today as council members got an update on the bridge project. And he joins us now from Staples and I-37.
Council members learned from the update that residents and motorists will see a lot more activity having to do with the building of the new Harbor Bridge. Hunter Bodycott with Flatiron Dragados outlined local street construction underway in connection with the project. Road work that's underway on Highway 181, I-37, and several streets close to the path for the new bridge. That includes work which is nearing completion on the Comanche Street Bridge. That's expected to be done in August, and that's when contractors will permanently remove the nearby LaPan Street Bridge. Other work is focusing on North Beach, where residents will need to be aware of some changes.
Upcoming impact at North Beach, there'll be two-way traffic from US 181 southbound frontage road. They'll be sharing the US 181 northbound frontage road, and this will result in two-way traffic between Burleson and Beach Avenue, and we anticipate being in this alignment for about a year.
Bodycott showed pictures from the precast yard in Robstown, where 2,600 bridge sections weighing 100 tons each are being constructed. One of the most immediate signs of activity will be lane closures starting tomorrow and continuing through Friday along this stretch of I-37 from Buffalo to Mexico Street. That's all having to do with the Staples Street Bridge reconstruction. From Staples Street, Brian Burns, 3 News.